No,
Isn't that just basic looks maxing?
It's not just looks, though. Women don't just care about looks. That's one category of what women care about. If we really had to boil it down, I've actually codified what women care about, and it is a 5-category assessment that
what is it?
Women universally agree on. It's called the mating value score. So no, regardless of where a woman lives in the world, she more or less wants the same thing. Now, whether she can have that is a different story, but most women, if not all straight women, want more or less the same thing.
Okay, what's that?
Well, to use a story from the client earlier that I shared, he had everything, but he was extremely insecure when he would approach him, and he was very nervous. So he checked off a lot of the boxes, but when it came to actually how he positioned himself, he came off as insecure. And every woman on this table, I believe, or at least most of the women on the table, agreed that they wanted a man who was confident. So most women want a man who makes them feel safe, and a man that they're attracted to, that they can respect, and a man who makes more money. I think most women do want that. Whether they can have that is a different story, but I do think that most women want a man who makes more money, is stronger than them physically, is dominant. His default is dominant, and
that just sounds like basic red pill talking points to me.
Well, that's because it's the truth. But
yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what sets you apart from every other date, because I debate
it's a good question.
Dating coaches all the time, right?
So,
and I debate within the red pill sphere with these red pillars all the time as well. And what you're saying here is just really functionally basic stuff that I would hear from any of these coaches, right? So none of them are going to say, women like it when you're a weak bitch, right? None of them are going to say, they like it when you're poor. None of them are going to say that.
But that's not feedback. So what sets me apart is that I get real women to give real feedback to men. I'm not just talking at them for 3 months.
Ulysses the Pagan donated $25. Boiling it down, your profession sounds more like an end run around the law and is actually an escort service.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but like, there's a guy on YouTube I used to engage with all the time. His name is Alex, Playing with Fire channel, and I liked him. Okay, right? He's a nice enough guy. This stuff that you're talking about, this would be like very, very basic stuff he would just start with before getting into the kind of the meat and potatoes of it.
But it's not always basic, because I've worked with men who are 6 feet, make 6 figures, and yet they don't fare well with women because, for example, they don't know how to hold a conversation, or they can't flirt, or they frankly don't even know that they're attractive, so they don't present with confidence. It's more nuanced than that. So just because it's common knowledge doesn't mean that it's always common sense. And what
you're
sets
talking
me
about
apart,
charisma, right?
Charisma is one of it, is a part of it. Social proof is another. So like earlier, someone was saying if Brian approached Andrea, like what would she say? The first question that popped up in my head was, does she know that he's the host of this podcast or not? Because that matters instinctually to women. He's got a lot of social proof because he's got millions of subscribers. So he's clearly proven himself.
Social proof that he's charismatic?
No, it means that he's got high status.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're the head of a podcast, you would be charismatic, right?
Potentially, yeah.
I don't know
but it's not. There's so many. There's a lot of charismatic podcast speakers who do not have 4.4 million subscribers.
And there's also podcast speakers who have 4.4 million
who are not
charismatic.
charismatic. Exactly.
Name one.
So I get what you're trying to say.
No, stop. Hey, stop. Name a podcaster who has 4.4 million subscribers who's not charismatic. I'd like to actually hear one name.
It was just a statement.
Brian
it wasn't
Ellis.
like
I know, but can
data.
you name one?
I just said it was a statement, not a
I know
factual.
what you just said. Can you answer my question now? Can you name
I
one?
can't.
Yeah, I didn't think you could because you can't name one, right?
Wait, so
You roll your eyes, but you couldn't answer the question. And you couldn't answer the question because it's stupid. It's actually a stupid statement to say Some guy has this massive, giant 4.4 million following and has zero charisma. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
I mean,
the reason that I bring this up, the reason that I bring the charisma thing up is because I don't think that can be taught. I think that there's a bunch of people who claim that they can teach men how to be charismatic, and I think they're lying to them.
Ooh,
I think that charisma is something which is foundational. You either have the potential for it or you don't.
I greatly disagree. Charisma can
Good.
100%
Then we can get into the heart
be taught.
of this. Tell me how you teach somebody charisma.
I'm pretty milquetoast.
You
I got to be honest. I'm pretty milquetoast.
You can teach
You
someone.
still have charisma.
You can teach someone to be funnier.
Thank you, Andrew.
You can teach someone to be a better listener, to ask good questions, to tell better stories. You can teach someone to be more influential when they walk into a room. You can just like you can teach sales, you can teach charisma 100%.
You can teach sales to people who have charisma.
And you can teach charisma to people who
so tell me, how would you teach a person
who are not
to be
in sales?
funnier? How would you teach somebody to be funnier?
Well, I'd have them hang out with other people who are funny. I'd have them watch comedians. I would teach them timing, tonality.
Sure, but wouldn't they need to have some baseline inside of their personality core, some kind of baseline charisma, where they even had the potential where they could be funny?
Yeah, but potential doesn't mean anything if it's not actualized. And
yeah,
so
well, I agree
okay,
so I can agree when you're talking about actualization, right? Like maybe you have the potential to be a bodybuilder, but you never work out. I get that. But when I'm talking about charisma, I think that charisma starts with a base. So there has to be some base for this. And that people have that base already at least somewhat
donated
charismatic.
$25. Can Madam Hussein, the con artist, shut up and Miss Piggy on the far right put on a burqa?
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Is your argument, just so I'm clear that we're having the same conversation, is your argument that we're born as we are and we should just kind of accept it? So we're either charismatic or we're not charismatic, and then we shouldn't really...
Well, yeah, so...
Because that to me sounds like a fixed mindset.
So I think if you're born really, really ugly, you might be able to, what they could call looks maxing, and you might be able to make yourself slightly less ugly. Maybe you can work out and this type of thing. But I think you're still going to be ugly. You're just going to be buff and ugly, right? So maybe it can up your scale a little bit, maybe 1 point, something like this. But I think that the charisma especially, and what I've noted is people either have this as a trait, they either are somewhat leaning towards charismatic, or they just don't. So like even in your example of sales, yes, you can teach people sales if they have the potential to be charismatic enough to do it because they already have some set level of charisma. I don't think that charisma is something that's taught, though. I don't think it's something easily taught. You either have it. It's called the it factor for a reason, right? You either have it or you don't.
Well, I mean, I respect your opinion, and I disagree. I think you can definitely teach people how to be charismatic, and I don't think you have to be charismatic to be good at sales. There are plenty of extremely mellow salespeople. Sales is all about, you have a problem, and I'm better at explaining the problem than you are, and I have a solution that matches your problem.
Yeah, that's all charisma. Communication's charisma. Communication is sales.
They've actually done studies on this. Sales with video off do perform much better than sales with video on. Why is that? I mean, you can't really use charisma with as much with the video off.
Because the person's better looking.
They can't.
What do you mean? They're better looking and have more charisma.
You can't see. Why. I'm saying video off sells better than video on.
Because most people are not very good looking, likely. Most salesmen are probably not highly good looking, but that doesn't mean they don't have a lot of charisma. So this is why women can fall in love with a voice, right? And then see the guy behind the voice and go, holy shit. Once they see him, they go, not so interested. Loved the voice, didn't really necessarily love the person behind the voice.
Okay, well, I do think that some people are born naturally more charismatic, just like some people are born naturally more attractive. So if one person's starting point is not naturally more charismatic, the other one is less, the person who's naturally more charismatic with even more training to be charismatic is definitely going to end up more charismatic than the person who started. I also think that someone who has the propensity to be charismatic but doesn't really work on it, like they just are who they are, versus someone who is determined to learn how to become more charismatic and puts in the work over time could potentially outdo the person who was born naturally more charismatic.
Are you playing a computer
donated
game?
$25.
Yeah,
Brian is really good at solitaire.
I'm listening.
Okay.
It's just
We can
it's a
change
bit.
the topic, by the way.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
It's
we can
good.
just
It's just a
end
bit. It's a bit. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, no, I mean, he asked me what I do that sets me apart than other dating coaches, which I think is a fair question.
Yeah.
And my answer, based on what I've seen,
Ninja underscore donated $25.69. I know this isn't a political podcast, but Brian, please let these hawk chews answer who y'all voting for and why. If Trump hold up one finger, if RFK Jr. 2 fingers, if Biden an L on your forehead.
Don't hold up a finger. Just
Minesweeper
answer.
V's
No,
Solitaire
don't hold up
donated
the finger.
$25. Lowell's Brixon.
Yeah.
Show of hands if you're voting for Trump.
Trump.
do we need to have this conversation right now?
We're not
'Cause
going
it-
to have a conversation. You can just raise your hand.
Okay, well, my political views are private.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyways, back to what you guys were talking
Back to what we were talking about. So, based on my research of other dating coaches, what I believe sets me apart, based on the feedback I've gotten from people who have worked with their dating coaches and then come work with me, is that we get men direct feedback from objectively attractive women. So it's not just my opinion, it's other women who are more attractive and more so what they are looking for, or whatever, just attractive women. What do attractive women, the type of woman that I would want to attract, the type of woman that if I saw her at the gym, I would probably talk myself out of approaching her because I would think that she's out of my league. What does she think about me? And in what ways can I improve that I'm not currently aware of? Because as I was sharing earlier, when I first started my business, I thought I was going to work with like total nerds who were extremely unattractive and socially awkward. I was baffled by the fact that I actually ended up working with a lot of very attractive men who, in a different world, if I wasn't working with them, I might even consider to be an option. Like I would be attracted to them. And I was surprised to see that many
Don't
men
you think
who
that
are
other dating coaches also do the exact same thing? They have women do vetting on
well,
their
not
behalf
based
so
on
that
my
they can
research.
give feedback.
Not based on my research, no. So the fact that I've codified female
W.
attraction into a 5 assessment category, and I get women to give men quantifiable feedback. Like here is how you could go from a 5 or a 6 to an 8 or a 9 to women like me. That's what it would take for us to see you that way. No, I have not seen anyone else codify attraction. I have not seen anyone else quantify attraction because men like numbers.
You ever heard of a guy named Michael Sartain?
Adamantium
No.
8 donated $25.69. Hermastradamus going to act like we don't know who she votes for.
Biden.
What the fuck? By the way, this is the roast section. We're in the roast
Yeah.
section of the
Okay.
show, so they're going to roast.
Yeah, so
No,
I mean,
I'm sure.
Sartain
I'm
has
sure there are
a-
other fantastic dating coaches. I'm just talking about the ones that I have personally looked up, ones that I would consider competition. I've looked at what they do. I've essentially funnel hacked them, and
Funnel hack.
yeah, funnel hacked. It just
What?
means that you figure out what their approach
Well, he
is,
has
how to help people.
he has a coaching program. I don't remember what his organization is called because I just don't remember kind of tiny details like that. But inside of his, he also has a kind of a PowerPoint plan which goes over the exact same type of thing, right? Which is male attractiveness, how you can look smack, this type of thing. But this, honestly, like I'm just giving you honest feedback because as I'm listening to you, this just really sounds like very, very, very basic kind of red pill talking points as far as do this and then that'll lead to this. You know, you can look max here. You can possibly improve this portion of yourself. It's all basically just male self-improvement.
Yeah, just like a fitness coach gives you more or less advice that you can find for free on the internet, which is eat less, work out more. But it doesn't mean that it's no easier just because you can, information is not transformation.
Yeah, that's
So,
kind of accurate.
For donated $25. Goodness, where is the elevator music? I'd like to go there for a little R&R instead of listening to this so-called dating coach.
Okay, thank you, Termia. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's called Men of.
So it's like with enough.
$25. The pushback is because we're skeptical of female dating coaches for men. Generally speaking, you don't ask a fish how to
Raise a
catch
mask for
fish.
man.
But I must acknowledge male grifters in this space too.
Wait.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Stochastic Decay donated $25. I interrupt this discourse for an important message. My sprinkler goes like this. And comes back like this.
Thank you. Wait, I'm sorry. I need attention for a little bit. Okay, check. This is my first time ever.
Jayekin donated $25.
Jay, bro.
I'm the
let
most charismatic, handsomest boy ever. Just ask my mum.
Okay, thank you, Jay. You are the most charismatic and handsomest
You know,
guy.
my mom says I'm way more handsome than his mom says he is.
All right, boys. This is the first ever solitaire W on the Whatever podcast. I don't know how many games I've played.